decades and decades, ever since we've had modern media, what you've been told is that a presidential candidate, in order to win, needs to be able to understand and play the media landscape. Going all the way back to like the Kennedy and Nixon debates, what you've been told is you need to look good on camera and you need to be able to come across as presidential. What I'm proposing to you is that is outdated, and it's particularly outdated with today's Democrat Party. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Political Spectrum Podcast. I'm your host, JJ Michaels. It's really good to have you. It's a big day today. It is day one of the Democrat National Convention in Chicago. We're going to talk about that, obviously. It's been a little bit since we've done one of these. I've been doing a whole bunch of other things. Not one of which is not getting my hair cut. If you're watching the video, you can see probably overdue for that, but I don't know. Do I look ridiculous? I probably do. Happy to have you guys here. It's Sunday night where I am in Central Texas. It is Monday morning when you are seeing this or listening to this. Glad to have you. It's been awesome seeing this thing grow. We got a lot of new viewers. The subscriber list is growing. Folks that click the subscribe thing on the whatever podcast program you're using to watch this. So that you get notified when we do new ones. Anyway, it's a big week. There's a lot going on this week, and I want to get right to it because what I want to talk about is there's been a lot of criticism of Kamala Harris for dodging press conferences and not doing any sort of like unscripted appearances or unscripted discussions. And she's even starting to get this type of criticism coming from the mainstream and more left-leaning media, as well as a little bit coming from her own party, just a little. And I wanted to address this because I've got a kind of a hot take on this, which is that I think that this is a smart strategy. In fact, I would go as far as to say she doesn't have a choice. And it's a hot take because it feels counterintuitive. For decades and decades, ever since we've had modern media, what you've been told is that a presidential candidate, in order to win, needs to be able to understand and play the media landscape. Going all the way back to like the Kennedy and Nixon debates, what you've been told is you need to look good on camera and you need to be able to come across as presidential and intellectual and all these things, or whatever it is, or likable, or what is it that they used to say? Would you want to have a beer with that guy, or whatever it is? And that you need television to do this. You need debates. You need long form interviews. You need all this stuff, press conferences, and all these types of things. What I'm proposing to you is that is outdated, and it's particularly outdated with today's Democrat Party. And we need to look no further to understand that than what I'm going to show you here from a website called News Nation Now. I don't actually even really know what that is. Maybe it's a big thing. I don't know. It doesn't matter. This is the first place that I could find that didn't have a paywall. So News Nation Now, you can see here, Chicago braces for DNC linked demonstrations. Okay, that's not what I want to highlight here. Check this out, though. Look, 270 organizations across the U.S. joined a coalition to march on the DNC, right? A Democratic National Party. So we're talking about everything from the Israel-Hamas war, abortion, LGBTQ plus rights, and many other causes. Okay, many other causes. And there's your key for why Kamala's hiding Biden strategy is actually effective. And I think it's going to be effective. And I think they should stick with it if they want to win. It makes me wonder if maybe the Biden, as the Republicans call it, the basement strategy, just hide, don't emerge, don't do interviews, don't be seen. If it had less to do with Biden's advancing age and inability to speak and think on the fly, and more to do with what I'm going to discuss right now, which is the fractured Democrat voter coalition. And what do I mean by that? If you don't know what I mean by that, the Democrats have talked for years about how they have a broad coalition of voters that they need to bring in to get elected. So a lot of this is this sort of identity politics type stuff, right? So on the one hand, it's Black voters, Hispanic voters, minority voters in general, Jewish voters. And then you have certain subsets of women, not necessarily all women voters, but college-educated women. So you have all these groups, right? You have all these ethnic and demographic groups. But then you also have issue voters, right? And you have this on the right as well, but I think Democrats in particular, really, they have issue voters. So for years, you've heard about the coalition and Bill Clinton bringing these groups together, and could Obama do this? So they're always talking about the base, and then how can they make sure that they can get the base turnout. Now, the challenge that the Democrats have is that they have multiple bases. Well, that's what they actually have. Is they have bases. The Republicans have a base. We're going to talk about that in a minute. The Democrats have bases. And in recent years, the number of these bases has grown along with the volatility of these bases. And we see that with the way that young voters and Arab American voters at least threatened to no-show the election when Biden was expressing his support for Israel in the Israel-Hamas war. And it's not just that, though. That's the thing. It's not just that. So here, let's rewind a little bit and understand how the Democrat Party got here. An aspect of what the American left preaches, right, is that there are many, many ways in which government can improve your lives and improve our lives. And this whole idea, for example, equality versus equity. And if you're not familiar, it's equality is merely the idea that everybody has an equal chance. Equity is the idea that everybody should have an equal outcome, that it's not enough for me to have equal opportunity. I need to have equal outcome. In order to do that, you have to have government intervention in some way. And I'm not saying that's a good or a bad idea right now. That's not the point. The point is not whether equity versus equality is possible or good or bad, whatever. The point is, in order to have it, you have to have some sort of manipulation. That sounds negative. You have to have some sort of direct impacting, some direct control on the levers of power in order to control the outcome, right? The equity of outcome. So basically, a big principle of the American left right now is that it's a good thing for government to control outcomes because that's the only way to ensure equity, okay? And I don't think that most of my liberal friends would disagree with that. So the challenge here is that we're trying to say that as a nation while also saying that everybody gets a say, while also saying that the voters will be heard. And this is really difficult to actually do because in order to deliver on the promises of what a government can do, if you're looking at a central command government, whether it's in the economy, whether it's in social issues, whether it's in business, whatever it is, environmental issues, in order to deliver on that, you have to have a government that is unified and is executing a plan, which is very difficult to do if you have 270 different cooks in the kitchen, right? So the Democrat Party's in a difficult position right now where they are making promises for what they can do if they control the levers of power in government, what the government can do to improve people's lives, while also saying this is an old-fashioned democracy and your votes count and we're going to listen to you on the issues. Those two things are fundamentally in conflict. It is very, very difficult to have a command government, right? And what that means is a centralized government that takes, let's just stick with this equity thing, that takes direct action to ensure equity of outcome. The problem with that is that people have different opinion on what an equitable outcome might be. And if you take everybody's opinion, you can't take action. I hope this is making sense. So on the other side, the Republican Party doesn't have quite the same problem. The Republican Party voters are more idea-based as opposed to issue-based. Are there issue-based voters? Of course. Are there voters that are pro-life voters? Of course. Are there national security voters? Yeah. Are there gun control voters? It's probably abortion and gun control are the closest things that the Republican Party has to issue voters. But with the possible exception of abortion, most Republican voters are voting for an idea. They're voting for a limited government. They're voting for government stay out of my way. They're voting for let me do my thing. And so even if you disappoint them on an issue, then as long as you're vocal enough on the idea, you're still going to get that voter and you're still going to get your turnout. Democrat voters are by and large issue voters. There's not like they're not really socialists, even though, for example, the types of things that they want to accomplish may require a socialistic type government. Most Democrat voters, I know a few that would say they're socialists, but most Democrat voters, they don't have like a political philosophy that they're behind. They have things that they want to accomplish or that they feel like should be solved. And then in a way, that's kind of admirable, by the way. They're regular people that just feel like we need to keep the world from melting, or they're regular people that just feel like my friends who are gay should be able to be married without fear of retribution or whatever. They have these issues that they believe in, or they believe that Israel's committing genocide in its prosecution of the war in Gaza, and that's like an issue for them. All right, so it's not good or bad to be an issue voter, but it's a challenge for Kamala and for the Democrat Party when you have, as I pointed out at the top, so many issue voters with issues that could potentially conflict, right? So let's just stick with the Gaza one. You have the Jewish vote's very important to the Democrat Party, has been for a really long time. But obviously, especially in swing states like Michigan, which has a large Arab American population, the youth vote as well. You have to also be able to bring in the pro-Palestinian vote. Let's put it nicely, right? I'm not going to call it the anti-Jewish vote, but let's just say that. So Kamala's in a very difficult situation. If she takes a position, she risks alienating one of these 270 interest groups. It's probably actually more, but the 270 groups that are coming to the convention to make their voices heard. So what can she do? Well, she can do exactly what she's doing right now, which is not taking positions and not putting herself in a situation where she risks alienating or offending one of these groups. So it's basically like, this is like wish list voting. So it's like when you're a kid and you ask your parents for a Christmas present, they say, well, Santa might bring that. And as long as you believe that Santa might bring that, you're satisfied. But then you ask for something else, like Power Wheels, right? I always wanted the Power Wheels. And your mom says, Santa's not bringing that. I'm going to tell you right now, Santa's not bringing the Power Wheels. Well, then it's reasonable for you to ask, okay, so what is Santa bringing? Is he bringing a bike? He's bringing a bike? He might bring a bike. Okay. So definitely no Power Wheels, but maybe a bike. The same would apply to Kamala if she takes a hard position. So, for example, let's say a national law on protection of access to abortion. Very difficult to actually do because the Supreme Court has recently ruled that this is probably not a federal jurisdiction. So you'd have to have a law that is written in such a way that it would survive the same challenges that Roe v. Wade just lost, right? So it's actually kind of difficult to do. Kamala can't come out and say that. She can't come out and say, that'd actually be hard to do, guys. I might want to, but I can't really. Because then folks for whom that's on their Christmas list, they cross that off and they say, okay, well, what can you do? What can you do? Can you get Israel out of Gaza? Can you do that? Well, I don't know. I could maybe set up some negotiations and we could definitely, well, no, ceasefire now. She can't do that either. Once you start crossing things off the Christmas list, they're going to ask what else is on the Christmas list. And eventually all you have left is Trump is evil. Right, which is it's the unifying. That's the closest right now that the Democrats have to an idea. A unifying idea is stop fascism. Well, and who knows? Maybe that will work. But if that's the case, then you really got to double down on explaining how this is fascism. When you got a problem on this one, I think, because Trump was already president for 4 years. So you really got to nail him on he's going to come in and exact retribution. Trump's stepped on his own, he stumbled a little bit on that by making goofy comments like, I'll be a dictator from day one, or whatever the hell that was supposed to mean. But in the end, I still feel like voters are going to look and say, we had this guy for 4 years and nothing all that bad really happened. So that is why what's going on is what's going on. That, in my opinion, that's why the hiding in the basements for the Biden Biden strategy. That's why Kamala's doing it. That's why I wanted to share with you all today. So as we look and see what happens this week, I want you to let's just watch and see if firm positions are taken by Kamala and her top deputies. I think that they're going to try to propose things that touch on some of these hot button issues without actually committing to the specific things that these 270 groups that are protesting the convention want, without actually making a commitment on what they're going to do to protect LGBTQ rights, what they're going to do to end the war in Gaza, what they're going to do to protect or expand abortion rights. My prediction is they're going to talk about these things. They're going to talk about how important they are, but they're not going to say what can and can't be done. Because the moment you say what can't be done, people say, well, what can be done? And the reality is, in the way our democratic process works, it's very difficult to actually do anything on these types of issues. That's why they're the issues remaining. I don't know that you can do much federally right now in the post-Roe era. I don't know that you can do much federally on abortion. You can do some things, but they're not going to be the types of things that are going to make those protesters happy or whatever. So anyway, that's my take on it. I think you're going to continue to see hiding Kamala. Let's watch. We'll see. I'm going to come at you guys tomorrow with my thoughts on the things that we see from the convention today. Look, I don't know how you feel about where things are in the election process. I don't know how you feel about what the Dems are saying or what Trump and Vance and crew are saying, but you got to admit, convention week's kind of fun if you follow this stuff. We're going to have plenty to talk about. Subscribe to the show, share with your friends, find 5 people that you think would enjoy this type of commentary. Find 5 people that you think want to consume the news, not be consumed by it. I'm here with you guys making observations, and that's all that we're doing today. Well, thanks for watching The Political Spectrum. I'm JJ Michaels. I'll see y'all tomorrow. Thanks.